Growing a business is kind of tricky right now. Supply chains are squeezed, tariffs and trade policies are dynamic, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. You need clarity to come out on top. Without it, you risk falling behind. If only you could hop in the DeLorean and see the future, right? Thankfully, there's NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite has real-time forecasting to help you move ahead with confidence. This is your AI-powered business management suite and the #1 cloud ERP. Trusted by over 42,000 businesses, NetSuite brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. And with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. You spent months building towards launch day, but when the clock hits 0, your site crashes. Bots swarm, and loyal fans rage on Reddit. That's not good. Fanfare was built to stop that. Fanfare is the drop platform made for high-pressure moments, stampede-proof infrastructure, verified waitlists, and bot filters that actually work. Instead of refunds and rage, you get retention and revenue. And that sounds great to me. Your next launch shouldn't be a gamble. Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook and learn how to bulletproof your drop at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, that's fanfare.io/playbook.
That's the play now. Build a small audience, and the minimum is about 100 people. And you send that traffic over to Amazon. That is just enough to move the dial. So the market has kind of come our way, in the sense of you build a little bit of an audience first. You do it around people that you genuinely care about and want to serve. And if you do that, the process of building $1 million business actually gets condensed and it can happen a lot faster.
What I love about our guest today is he says in this episode that you, the listener, who has started a brand, who has a following, who has an email list, you've done the hard part already. This person comes from an e-commerce background, and he's going to share with us how he's helping entrepreneurs today create $1 million businesses. He's going to just lay out the roadmap for us. And coming out of this interview, I was left very inspired, and I think you will be too. But what he says is a lot of people who are in the e-commerce space who have these products, who are for sale on Amazon or on their own websites, on Shopify, they wish they had what we have. You, the listener, and I. Brand, or the ability to build an email list, the ability to create content. This is the stuff that we teach at SPI that many of you have, to build communities, right? Focusing on people first and offering them a physical product is the opportunity we all have. And so let's talk with Ryan Moran today from capitalism.com. He helps and even invests in companies to help them do this. And he's got some incredible success stories today. But more than that, he shows us how this can be done even with just 100 people. And a niche-focused physical product is the way to $1 million business. So let's unpack this. Let's see how this works. Here he is, Ryan Moran from capitalism.com.
You're listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, a proud member of the Entrepreneur Podcast Network, a show that's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host. He's fast approaching 1 million subscribers for his Pokemon YouTube channel, Pat Flynn.
Running a business means legal questions are inevitable. Is this contract or agreement solid? What can I do if a client won't pay me? Am I set up properly for taxes? Well, rather than trying to navigate all of this on your own or searching endlessly online, imagine having a law firm on your side without the high hourly rates. That's exactly what Legal Shield's small business plans offer. With Legal Shield, entrepreneurs get access to real legal support, contract reviews, collection letters, guidance on business formation, and even help handling IRS audits. Members can book consultations, upload documents through the app, and work with a provider law firm that understands small business laws in your state. You also get proactive help on tax and trademark questions so you can stay ahead of legal risks. And if a client delays payment, Legal Shield can send professional collection letters to help you recover what you're owed, all for a fraction of what traditional attorneys charge. Go to LegalShield.com/SPI or call 833-570-9980 to learn more and get big business legal support without a big business budget. That's LegalShield.com/SPI. Hiring shouldn't be a hassle or a drain on your budget. Upwork is your one-stop shop to find, hire, and pay top freelance talent, saving you time and keeping costs in check all in one place. Companies at every stage turn to Upwork to get things done and find more flexibility in the way that they staff key projects and initiatives by assessing a global marketplace filled with top talent in IT, web development, AI, design, administration support, marketing, and more. And I've personally used them myself and can vouch for them. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. With no cost to join, you can register, browse freelancer profiles, get help drafting a job post, or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them to take your business to the next level. Upwork makes the entire process easier, simpler, and more affordable with industry-low fees. Post a job today and hire tomorrow with Upwork. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That is Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com. Go there now. Ryan, welcome back to the SPI podcast. It has been way too long, my friend.
It's really good to see you, Pat. This community has been so gracious to me for many years now, and I appreciate them so much, and I'm excited to be back with them.
A lot of the audience resonates with your style of teaching and what you offer. You've had a lot of different kinds of businesses under your wing. You've helped many other businesses succeed extremely well. Ryan invited me to speak at his event a long time ago. Do we remember what year that was?
2015. It was my first ever big event.
2015. Yeah. I think Gary Vee spoke at that event. I mean, it was a tremendous event. And you were gracious enough to sponsor FlynnCon in 2019. I think that was the last time we connected.
Yeah, that's right.
And I know even at that event, people connected with you and have gotten a ton of value from what you have to offer from there.
That was fun because all we did was set up a booth and say, well, let's just go through your business. We didn't have anything for sale. We didn't collect any email addresses. We were just saying, where do you need help? And how do we, bring some support to what you're learning at FlynnCon? That was really fun.
That was really amazing. Before people spoke to you, they were like, what are they selling? Like, what's their brand? And it's just like, it's just Ryan. Like, go chat with him. And they're like, wow, that was super valuable. I think that was a super smart move. And I love how you take these unique approaches to things like that. But before we get into a lot of the discussion about the future, because you and I both can jam on a lot of sort of where we're at now and actual optimism for what's to come, I think. And I'd love to know what has happened in the missing parts of the story that I don't have access to for you. Where are you at now in business and in life? And just kind of give us a quick rundown on how things are going.
Yeah, when I was last on the show back in almost 10 years ago, Pat, I didn't have kids back then, and I have 2 of them now. So
wow.
It was almost 10 years ago that I was first on SPI. I was building e-commerce brands following a very predictable playbook of getting 4 products to 25 sales a day at a $30 price point. You run the numbers on that, and that's $1 million business. And that's a predictable model that I'm yet to find anybody that can't figure out what 4 products they can get to 25 sales a day at a $30 price point. And that was my first ever $1 million business. I had been an affiliate marketer for a long time. I had done SEO and pay-per-click and consulting and all the stuff that most entrepreneurs are trying when they're first starting out, and they're trying to just have some freedom, just like you and I both were when we got into this game. And that company that I started back in 2013 is a company called Sheer Strength Labs. My business partner and I scaled to about a $10 million run rate. And that was the biggest company that I had ever built at that time. And we got an offer from a private equity group, and we sold for $16 million. That was a huge financial win. We didn't get all that money up front. We had to carry some of that back. And that story has an interesting ending, which I'll share in a second.
Okay.
But since I sold that company, I started a fund called the Capitalism Fund. My full-time focus now is capitalism.com, where I help entrepreneurs launch their brands, get to 100 sales a day, and have a multi-million-dollar exit. But I started a fund to invest in the businesses that are coming from my community. So we have all of these entrepreneurs that are starting businesses following that playbook of 4 products at 25 sales a day at a $30 price point. And I mentored all these entrepreneurs that came through that model, and they had really sizable exits, but I was just teaching. I was just coaching. I was just mentoring. Now I come on as an investment partner and I advise them, and my team helps them actually get past that 7-figure run rate and have a multi-million-dollar exit. Just to complete the story, the private equity group that bought my company went bankrupt. They bankrupted my company. They did everything wrong. They got away from my thesis and my playbook. And last year I bought that company back for 4 cents on the dollar.
Wow.
So I am also now showing my model by redoing the company that I did publicly. And now I'm redoing it publicly. And that is a journey all on its own. But my primary focus now is the fund and investing in people who use this playbook that I talk about building your first 7-figure company, and then helping mentor them towards a sizable exit while I take my old company and hopefully turn it around into something that was bigger than it ever was.
Dude, that's an incredible story. What was it like to see your business that you had sold, that you had put so much time and effort into and grow to a certain point? What was it like to see another company just kind of like burn it to the ground, essentially?
Well, on one hand, it was really heartbreaking. If you've ever built a company before, it's your baby. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. It was absolutely heartbreaking. I remember getting the notice in the mail, the notice of bankruptcy. And it felt like this very official document of bad news. And it was delivered to my house because I was a shareholder, and basically saying, your shares are worthless. And that was sad and also hard financially, because I had millions of dollars in expected future payments that I thought were going to come to me. And I had sort of made some financial decisions thinking that this company that told me that they were going to grow it to $50 million and have a second exit, I was hoping for that. That was a real blow financially as well. But the positive side of it was seeing that this stuff that we know about building audiences, about being good to our customers, building communities of raving fans, this is actually more effective than what the big professionals know how to do. They look at spreadsheets, they look at expected value, they run pro formas. I still don't quite understand what that term means. But the stuff that we do, the actual grit and grind and mud that we go through, this is actually what builds really valuable companies. And it was, in a way, a shot in the arm of saying, I think I might actually be good at this. I think there might be more to this game that we play of entrepreneurship that is better than or more effective than the playbook that the big guys and girls run. And so what happens if we learn their game and we sprinkle it a little bit into our podcast audiences and our followings and the people who watch our content and the products that we sell? You could play a much bigger game. So it was eye-opening to see how powerful the strategies and the marketing tactics that we know and teach and love, how effective they can be as long as you lean on that, you build real companies around it.
Yeah. And that's something you've always been good at. So it seems like that company kind of got away from that. I mean, we don't need to get necessarily into how things happen, but here you are now building it back up, using the strategies that you do know. I mean, what a discount on the business that you sold. So that's great. And you get to use it as a case study. If we all wanted to follow that case study, where would we go to kind of see where you're at? And where are you at with that right now?
Yeah, I mean, right before we hopped on this podcast, I was having a meeting with the team saying, all right, what's the thesis that we're testing first? Because we're early in that process and turnarounds are harder than new starts. So yeah. I feel challenged right now, Pat. And I feel a pressure. Like, I did it once. Can we do it again? And so I'm sharing that journey on my YouTube channel and on my podcast, which is called capitalism.com. But it's early. And like, honestly, I'm kind of scared. I'm scared about publicly failing. I'm scared about what if some of the strategies don't work as well like they did the last time.
Yeah.
I feel like there's more riding on it. So it's a different level of not risk, but it is challenging me on how much to share and how open and vulnerable. And there's a benefit to that and there's a risk to that as well.
Yeah, for sure, especially with something like that. But what an amazing story that is still being written. So everybody go to capitalism.com or listen to Ryan's podcast or check out his YouTube channel to follow that journey. I'd love to know, you had mentioned this formula that you had once taught about, 25 sales per day for products and that kind of situation. Is that's mostly e-commerce based and Amazon? And is that the sort of I think I remember you teaching the, white labeling a product from Alibaba, getting that in, and then kind of making sure, and that whole strategy. Is that strategy still play out today, or has the strategy changed with a lot of the companies that you are investing in from your community? What is working today, generally speaking, and how has that strategy changed?
Well, the beautiful thing about math is that it rarely changes.
Right.
So 4 products at 25 sales a day is still 100 sales a day. And at a $30 price point, that's still $3,000 a day in sales, $90,000 a month, and about $1.1 million in top line revenue. And that is still a huge accomplishment for an entrepreneur like I was that had never built $1 million business before. And that's also the point at which you have a company that has enough value to where if you wanted to have an exit, if you want to sell a company, that's the level that you play at in order to have a life-changing amount. Now, it will obviously be more if it's a bigger company, but that's kind of the minimum benchmark to have a sizable exit. But the strategy has changed some. And the good news is that it's kind of come our way a little bit. So back in 2015 and 16, the play for e-commerce brands, meaning selling physical stuff, food, supplements, beauty, pet care, canoes, accessories, physical stuff that we all buy, the play was to put it on Amazon, to grind your way in the algorithm to get organic keyword rankings, to get reviews so that your conversions were high, run Amazon pay-per-click, and you would win. And that playbook does still work. It's just way more competitive now.
Yeah.
Here is what has changed the most, and where people like you and I and people who create content or have blogs or email lists or podcasts, this is where we have a leg up. The difference today is that Amazon now rewards outside traffic more than they value anything else. So if you have an email list in the fitness space and you launch some weightlifting belts, or you sell supplements or protein shakes or shakers or blood pressure readers or whatever it is that would be in service to your audience, if you have an audience of people that are the ideal buyers for that, and you have them on an email list or they follow you on Instagram, if you then collect them into what I call a hot list, a place where you put them and you're communicating with them and documenting the journey about the launch of this product, if you send that outside traffic to Amazon, Amazon rewards that on a weighted basis. So that outside traffic actually gives you momentum in the Amazon algorithm. Whereas before it was just wherever you took a sale, Amazon would reward that. Specifically, if you searched for a keyword, you clicked on a listing and you bought it, that was how you ranked in the algorithm. But now it's changed where Amazon rewards that outside flow because Amazon wants the new customers and they want to be the priority as the shopping channel. So if you have an email list and you send them over to Amazon for your listing, it gives you extra juice. And of course, now 10 years later, Amazon has more options and better conversion rates, and more people are used to buying on Amazon. So the conversion rates are even higher. But that's the play now. The play is actually to build a small audience, and the minimum is about 100 people. If you have 100 people ready and waiting for a product, whether you already have that audience or you build a new audience, and you send that traffic over to Amazon, that is just enough to move the dial and start to get some organic rankings on Amazon, get to 25 sales a day, and then repeat the process 3 more times until you have 4 products doing 25 sales a day at a $30 price point. So the market has kind of come our way in the sense of you build a community first, you build a little bit of an audience first, you do it around people that you genuinely care about and want to serve, and then you launch the product. And that's the momentum that is working right now to still get to 25 sales a day on every product within about 60 to 90 days. And if you do that, the process of building $1 million business actually gets condensed and it can happen a lot faster.
This is so great to hear. I mean, this is the way it should be.
Yes.
Building an audience and having fans and then serving them with something. And what I love about this too is my mind immediately went to the old model. And it's like, I remember that model. I remember trying that model. And it's like you have no connection to who it is you're serving. Like the buyer at the end of the road is like you don't even know who they are. You don't get a list of those buyers unless you do some further work to send them an email and hopefully get them to reply, or in a book or in your product including a little note card that says, hey, by the way, you can get more of this, join my email list from here. No, now we're building the email list, all the stuff that you and I have taught for over a decade now.
Yes.
And by utilizing that, you already know who those people are. You know how to serve them. You know that the language to use, and when they purchase that, that's the end of a whole conversation, but then the start of a new journey into more, right? You could serve that same person with those 4 specific products. And I'm guessing that's kind of what happens because you built a very niche audience, and 100 people to start. I mean, that's nothing.
And it's enough. It really is enough to get the snowball rolling. And what's kind of funny and ironic is the people who are obsessed with e-commerce and the Amazon platform, they think audience building is magic. They have a really hard time figuring out the audience building side because they're so used to just making the sale, going right to the transaction.
It's product first.
Yes, exactly. It's product first. But if you're a content creator or you have a blog that ranks for keywords or you have a social media following, you naturally think about person first. You think about connection first. You think about community first. And that is the hardest part for a lot of e-commerce entrepreneurs because they'll think about selling canoe paddles and then they're thinking about, wait, who is the target buyer? And they go into demographics. I think it's a man 35 to 45 who likes the outdoor. And it's really hard for them to reverse engineer and pick the person that they want to serve. But when you're a content creator, you kind of naturally think about blogging about the outdoors, having a podcast about taking vacations with your family. You think about the content on Instagram where you're showing your vacation, you're showing what you do outside. Now you take that traffic, and where a lot of people would monetize that with ads or with affiliate sponsorships, they now put that into an email hot list and they launch a product to them and they just crush all of the e-com experts. And it's really hard to copy because you've got to be genuine.
Yeah.
And people like us naturally go there because we're thinking about person first. So you have a secret advantage and you're actually ahead of the market if you've been building an audience or creating content that's specific for a person. And now you can launch physical products that don't just build you a 7-figure business, although it can and will do that. More importantly, it actually amplifies your brand. So if you think about Dave Asprey 10, 15 years ago.
Bulletproof, right?
Yeah, Bulletproof. He cut his teeth with this blog called The Bulletproof Executive. It was a podcast and a blog where he was talking about biohacking and putting butter in your coffee. But then a few years later, he launched an organic coffee roast that was supposedly mold-free. I don't even know if that's a real thing, but it was the product that served his person. And if he wanted to be a product brand, his follow-up product would have been a dark roast or a decaf. But then he launched his own MCT oil, and then it was upgraded MCT oil, and then it was protein bars. And now he sells $10,000 vibes that you stand on and it, I don't know, like blesses your chi or something. I don't know how that works, but now he's got this brand called Bulletproof that is probably worth $1 billion. Mark Sisson did the exact same thing. Mark Sisson had a blog called marksdailyapple.com, and he just blogged about the paleo diet. And then he launches a condiment company selling barbecue sauce and mustard and ketchup. And he sells for $200 million 4 years later. So the real play is to have the audience first and then to launch the products, which builds you the company that is separate from the content. So you can keep the content engine running. You can keep selling courses. You can keep making money as an affiliate or selling ads. But now you've got a real company that has true enterprise value that you can grow to $1 million and beyond and maybe even sell someday. And it amplifies your brand. It doesn't compromise it. And that is something that a lot of us entrepreneurs struggle with is how much do we serve and how much do we try to, give the right hook? And I think building a brand as an extension allows you to do both really well.
You mentioned right hook. I mean, that comes from Gary Vee's lexicon, right? Jab, 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 right hook. And it's interesting because I and I think we were talking about this before we hit record. It's like Gary's message before was like build a media company, right?
Yes.
And then that includes the ads and not like writing content, not even necessarily with personality behind it or a person or a brand, but just like media. But now it's like community first. Like you're still creating, but with the person in mind, and then the products come after. And there's so many things I want to ask you about this. The first thing that came to mind were personal brands who did this, but then failed because they weren't genuine. And showing you the power of still being able to do this, but you have to be a genuine person to actually want to help your audience. There was a couple examples. There was the Liver King, who got famous on TikTok and Instagram because he was just jacked, but he said his diet was eating like liver and just raw meat, right? What a way to get a lot of eyeballs. And then, of course, he launched these products, but then later confessed that he was actually on steroids, right? And then it just brand failed, so he wasn't genuine. There was a woman who created a pink sauce on TikTok. It was like a pink-colored sauce that could go on anything, and it was yummy, apparently. And she shared the recipe. People loved it, so she worked with a company to bottle it up and sell it. But then people started getting sick, and she didn't care about the fact that, there were raw eggs in this thing, and it wasn't keeping very well. So anyway, you got to do your due diligence, which leads me to this next question, which is like physical products, especially for my audience, are a little bit new, right? They know, and they have seen the Switch Pod come out, and that was amazing, and that's still doing very, very well. So this is possible, people. I've done it too. Ryan's done it many times. His students have done it even more. But if a person has a brand, they have the leg up, the unfair advantage of having that audience already. What might be the best place to start to investigate if or what that first product might be?
Yeah, great question. So the first part is knowing that you don't have to have a completely unique product. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can sell the exact same thing that other brands sell, which can often be white labeled from any number of different manufacturers. At this point, the Amazon marketplace and e-commerce is big enough. Most manufacturers know how to work with that. They are used to that. And they have products sitting on the shelves that you can put your own label on and you can call it your brand. But here is the key if you're going to do that. If you're going to do that, then you need to make the brand specific to a person. You can sell the same exact product as somebody else, but make it directed towards your ideal person that you want to serve, and it will get its own audience. If you think about a supplement, for example, a supplement can have benefits for men that are different than the benefits for women. So if you have a women-centered audience, the way that you communicate the benefits of that product are going to be specific to your person. And that creates its own brand. For example, we talked about Mark Sisson, Mark's Daily Apple. The Primal Kitchen was his company. He had a condiment company that was specific to the paleo diet. It wasn't like there was a lack of ketchup companies. It's not like there was a lack of condiments in the marketplace, but there was one underserved demographic or psychographic that didn't feel like they had their place. Meaning they might still buy ketchup from other companies, but this was the brand that was for them. This was the brand that was specific for them. They went and bought that specific one because it talked to them. A controversial example will illustrate the point. You might have seen the launch of Jeremy's Razors a couple of years ago. Now, they basically launched a razor company for Republicans. And they thumbed their nose at the media and said how they were being targeted in the media and you should buy our razors. If you watch their ads, they'll even say that their product is very similar to a lot of the other big companies out there. But this was the razor for that audience. When they launched that business, they had $10 million in recurring revenue within a weekend, and they didn't even have product ready yet.
Wow.
It wasn't about the product. It was about the person that you serve. It was about speaking to their values. It was representing something that you want to create in the world that your target audience also wants to resonate with. That customer was buying from Gillette or Harry's or Dollar Shave Club. And now they had an option to buy a brand that reflected their own beliefs and their own values. So you can go and create a brand new product from scratch, kind of like you did, but you don't have to do that. You can just create a brand that is specific to a target person. And that is what goes out and calls all those people who resonate to be your raving fans. That's what calls them to the forefront to become your customers.
I love that, dude. Inventing something new is hard and expensive.
Can be, yeah.
The SwitchPod was not cheap. A lot of that money from the Kickstarter campaign was used to just manufacture the thing and make the molds. That was difficult. I mean, we took the most difficult route for sure, but you're right. We could have found an existing tripod, for example, that did basically what ours did, and it was already made, and work with the manufacturer, then put our name on it. And that's what white labeling is.
That's right.
Interesting story. Our second product, it's always great to have a follow-up or an accessory or something to go along with the first one, is a ball head that goes on top of the SwitchPod. That we did not invent. That Caleb found when he was in China looking to make sure the quality of the SwitchPods that we invented were good. He was like, hey, what are these ball heads over here? Oh, yeah, we can make those for you. You just put your name on it. These are great. Pick one that you like. And we found the best one that made sense, and the circular bottom of it was the same size as the top of our SwitchPod, and we just put our name on it. It's one of our best-selling products, and now we can bundle it and package it. And it was already made, and it's specific for our audience because it does certain things for vertical camera usage and with iPhones and Androids and stuff. So anyway, not to get into too much detail.
I want to edify something that you did really well here, maybe not even thinking about it, but a lot of people who have audiences, podcasts, YouTube, email list, blog, they'll often try to think about what product is going to resonate with all of my people.
All of them.
I've got 100,000 followers. How do I create the product that all of them are going to love? But the way that you build a brand that really takes off is by asking the question, what would 5 to 10% of my audience just go bananas for? So there's a chance that the affiliate marketers and the SEO bloggers who listen to your show didn't buy a SwitchPod, but the people who are making video and audio content went bananas for it. And that is how people with any audience at all can feel a little bit freed up to play on the thing that they want to create in the world that's specific for a person by choosing not what is going to resonate with everybody, but the small few that are going to be first in line, buy on pre-launch, eager to give you a review, feel like they found the brand that was for them. And you can do a lot of damage with a few hundred or a few thousand really happy first in line customers.
That's great. And that's a huge relief for people who might be thinking about going down this route. I mean, you don't need a lot of people and you don't need to serve everybody. You just need to be clear, this serves this group. If you are in this group, hopefully the copy is good and just it's very clear even just by looking at it. That's the beauty that I found with physical products. It's so much easier to show that the thing that you made for them is for them or not versus, like a digital product. It's like, okay, now I got to write a whole sales page to help a person discover whether this thing works or not. And then the joy of a person purchasing that thing and then using it right away and getting the value is also what I love about the physical product. It's just a little bit harder.
Absolutely.
I'm curious to know your thoughts on, because we're talking about audiences and building your own, getting in front of other people's audiences for your product is just as powerful. And is that a part of a strategy that you offer? Or how would you recommend a person who maybe they have a small group and they are selling a product, but would it be wise to also connect with other people in the space who could benefit? And what does that partnership look like? Is it an affiliate thing? Are they, do we give them a share of the company to help promote our product since they might have a bigger audience and it's also relevant? Like, what are your thoughts on collaborations for a physical product?
I'll tell you what we do inside of our fund, and then I'll tell you what I recommend that most people do, because it might be a little bit advanced for people who are just getting started when I share what we do in the fund.
Okay.
But inside the fund, what we look for is right now we have a brand that sells high protein, low sugar snacks. Great company. They're called Sinless Snacks. They have Rice Krispie treats that are sugar-free or 1 gram of sugar. They taste just like Rice Krispie treats. They're amazing. And what we did with that brand is we partnered with one of the 3 keto influencers that are still relevant. You know, most of them have gone away because keto is not hot anymore. But there's a few that still exist that have growing audiences. And so we reached out to one of them that we thought would match this brand. And we created a deal in which we sponsor his audience just like another brand would say, hey, we're going to pay you to talk about our product and our brand. So we have the same deal, except the money that we pay that influencer is in equity. It's in shares instead of just a straight fee. I don't like partnerships with influencers, which are them holding it up and saying, I like this product and this is a sponsored post. I like when an influencer says, I'm part of this company. I believe in this company. I'm an owner in this company. I advise this company. I helped with this formulation. I use this product myself. That is a really, really powerful endorsement.
Yeah.
Now it takes longer because you got to build relationships. You got to treat it like a partnership because it is. But that influencer wins because it makes him look good to his audience rather than it being something that he's just endorsing and sending people away from the platform and he's getting paid for it. Theoretically, hopefully, he will make way more money as a shareholder than he would make from the few $1,000s that we would pay them to talk about the product once. And it's good for us because we're getting more really happy customers that are coming directly from the ideal audience. So everyone wins.
I love that a
in
lot.
that type of a scenario. So that's how we do it. To someone who's just starting, what I recommend is you want a raving fan to see you in 3 different places. That's where it crosses over in your brain to have a trust factor. So if you work with somebody, they're a coworker. If you sometimes go out for dinner after work, they're a coworker that you have dinner with sometimes. But if they come over and watch football on Sunday, now they're a friend because you've seen them in 3 different places. So we put our members through something called the traffic triangle. The traffic triangle is how we get raving fans to see us in 3 different places. So we need one area of exposure that is either content creation or it's going out and doing interviews and podcasts and getting the word out. So it can also be ads if you're spending money on advertising, but some way to get the word out, some way of exposure. For most people, that's content creation. The second is some sort of, we call it a hopper, but that's really the community. That's a Facebook group, a Slack group. For me, it's actually my YouTube channel because that's where I'm really engaging with my audience and putting long form content. It's where I'm getting face to face with our people, a place where we're engaging with them. And then we have one more place, and we call it the conversion mechanism, fancy way of saying email list. Email is still the number one highest converting platform. SMS is starting to get there, but email is still the fastest, simplest, and most effective. And we run a process where you create content or you go on a podcast to get your name out there and you get brand awareness that way. You send them over to an email list, and on the thank you page, you invite them into your community. In doing that, you always have a process for getting new eyeballs, getting them onto your email list, and then putting them into a community where you can engage with them. That is a very powerful way to build that first group of launch buyers that takes you to at least 100 people, probably more like 1,000 people, and that is more than you need in order to launch that first product and get it to 25 sales a day. So that's how that process starts.
A point of clarification, when, for example, a brand is a guest on another podcast, what's the call to action to go and join the email list? Is it get savings? Is it a lead magnet of sorts? What's the strategy there?
When you're first starting out, the thing that we tell people is to set up a first in line list. First in line list means the product isn't even ready yet, but you're going to be the first to know about it when it launches. So if you have a physical product and you're documenting the journey and you're doing content about you showing you using it for the first time, or you're at the manufacturer and you're seeing your first prototype, or you get a piece of feedback from somebody that beta tested it and it wasn't so good and you're saying what you're going to do about it. During that pre-launch process, I recommend you send everybody to a first in line list. And that is just building up the waiting list of people who are ready to buy it once the product is ready. It's very effective. Once you have launched, then you can either do a lead magnet. For example, in my brand, Sheer Strength, I'm writing a book called From Dad Bod to Father Figure. And it's the transformation that I went through after my hormones were whacked, after I put on weight, and the doctors that I saw to say, like, what's going on here? Can you get rid of my dad bod? That transformation is what we're putting into a book that will serve as a lead magnet to get our ideal people. So you can either send them to a lead magnet, or the simplest way, if you have no other ideas, is you just do some sort of a discount. You'll hear this on podcasts a lot when people say this podcast is brought to you by AG1. And if you go to ag1.com/Tim, you can save 20% or whatever it is. That's the easiest way if you don't have any other way to get people onto your list.
And that's, of course, after you have the product available. But I love the idea of a first in line list. And that speaks to the fact that marketing happens before the product comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it sounds like that's a part of the program. And you teach people to like share the journey and be public about it. And that's something that I've always done, obviously. So I really resonate with that. For the person who is like, Ryan, that sounds good, but I don't want to share like the mistakes that I'm making. And like, it's like, wouldn't a competitor come in and copy me if I do this? Like, how would you respond to somebody who's kind of pushing back on that, sort of just like opening the factory doors before the product's even out there kind of thing?
Well, I'll just tell you a story. There's a member of our community. Their names are Ryan and Tristina Tim. And they were running this like a low sugar margarita mix company for a long time that was doing okay, but it had never crossed 7 figures. And they were either going to scrap it or do something new. And they were trying to figure out what to do. And we took their processes and we put them into the traffic triangle. And they wanted to launch a new wing of the company that was low sugar syrups, kind of like, I can't remember the name, Toscani. You know those syrups that you pump that
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
All of those are either super sugary or they have artificial sweeteners. Well, from their margarita mix company, they had some of the formulations to be able to do something like this, but it be sugar-free and naturally sweetened. So they just started sharing this with their audience by saying, we're thinking about going in this direction and we need your feedback. And they put everybody into a Facebook group, and it was only, I want to say it was 150 people. So a small, tiny segment of their audience. And they just got feedback from this group. They're like, we want to go in this direction. What do you want to see? What flavors do you want to see? What sweeteners are important to you? Which ones would you never buy? And it was just a feedback group. And at the same time, they're building up their launch list and they're documenting the journey of just trying it and testing it and saying, ooh, this one tastes terrible. We're not going to launch this. Oh, we just delayed our launch by 6 weeks because this one doesn't taste very good. That is so bonding with your ideal people. It's so, like, even to this day, Pat, I mean, you probably experienced this. When I share what I'm struggling with, it's tempting to, when you're making content, to act like you got it all together. Friends, I do not have it all together. I have plenty of bad days. And I too don't want to share that stuff publicly. But when it's relevant to my audience, it makes the people who are struggling with the same thing feel seen, makes them feel like they're part of the process. And so what Ryan and Tristina Tim did is they just documented that whole journey. And then the product wasn't even ready yet. So they pre-launched it and they did over $100,000 in pre-orders in the first 6 weeks. Still blows my mind. It might be a record for our community that they launched that company, like took their first sale in November of 2022. Their first full year will be 2023. They're on pace for 2 million this year. Brand new business.
Incredible.
Didn't exist a year ago. And they're going to surpass $2 million. So even if you don't want to share all the losses, just sharing the journey of, we're trying this, we're testing this. Sounds like you guys like this. What do you think about this? We had one of our brands actually talk about Liver King, since you brought them up. Talk about, they had a competitive company and they said, what do you think about this? And people gave their feedback and it made them more bonded to that brand. And then you can either pre-launch the product and get feedback, and pre-launch buyers are great for feedback. They tend to be more forgiving because they know they're buying V1. And that can be the starting fuel that you need in order to place that first inventory order, to get those initial reviews, and to get the momentum that you need to get that product 25 sales a day.
Man, so good, Ryan.
Fun, isn't it?
Dude, it's like every time I talk to you and people like you, I'm just like, man, I want to start something new again. And I know I shouldn't.
You're my best friend too, Pat.
Because, I mean, no, dude, I appreciate this so much. That company that you just mentioned, they're a part of the community and you're an investor in that company now, and you own shares of that company, is that one example of them?
They declined me. They didn't need my money. So they're just a member. I did offer, and I hope they come around one day. But that is my hope in teaching this stuff and working with these brands, is that once they launch and they get to at least, a mid 6-figure run rate, that's where I can pull out like the secret weapons that I've developed from my relationships and my network and investors that I know, where we can make the process happen a lot faster. But from a teaching and a mentoring perspective, what we do is we teach the model, we introduce people to the manufacturers that they need, we give them the strategies, we sometimes introduce them to people they need to know, get them to that launch so they have a 6-figure run rate. And then we're looking at, okay, who do we invest in? Who do we mentor? Hopefully, and take them to an 8-figure exit.
Okay, that's really awesome. So they're not even in that program, that particular part of the program, but you're still able to serve them, and they're kind of on their own. But
they're a member of the program, but I don't own anything in the company. They didn't take my capital, right? They did it all on their own. All credit goes to them.
I love that. If a person is listening to this and they're like, Ryan, I want to explore, this a little bit more, obviously capitalism.com, and check out Ryan's YouTube channel and such. But if they, can imagine a scenario where they do want to work with you in that capacity, or, be a member, or even one day have you help and support their company as a shareholder, like what process is that like? And how do you vet? Is there an application? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So I don't want to pitch anything, but the what we do is put them through a process. That program is called the Capitalism Incubator. And that process takes them through the same thing that we would do if we were an investor, in terms of what we look at in the company, what levers we need to pull in order to get you more valuable. And then when we see somebody starting to move in that direction and getting results, we might come in as an investor. If somebody's just starting out, though, the most cost-effective way that I can serve them is to just grab a copy of my book, which is called 12 Months to 1 Million. Best place for people to get started. But if they're looking for an exit, well, I'll just say this. My personal email is ryan@capitalism.com if you want to run an actual deal by me.
Okay. I hope you're okay sharing that publicly here on the podcast.
I might regret that one.
No, Ryan, dude, this has been amazing. And as always, whenever you connect with the audience, whether directly like at FlynnCon or even here on the podcast, you always provide so much value. And I appreciate you for that. I'm sorry that we hadn't connected between the last time and now. I don't know why we've waited so long, but this has been a tremendous way to catch up and also just kind of hear what you got going on. And I'm just really stoked for you and the future of just entrepreneurship in general. I think this podcast should give a lot of hope to people out there, because there are ways to do this right. Right. And I love where the world is going and how a lot of things, like even Amazon is rewarding, people for doing the right thing and kind of, organic. And I know there's always going to be sort of ways to game things. I would imagine that there's, link farms and other things that are, kind of not making it great for some places. But you're one of the good guys, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing this. And we'll put all the links in the show notes for everybody. Any final words of advice or anything inspirational to finish off with?
Yes. I want to share one story. A few years ago, actually, when you and I met in person for the first time, we met in the Philippines, actually. And I had a conversation with you, and you inspired me to pursue a passion project that was making a documentary. And
I remember this.
Someone connected me to a filmmaker to record a documentary, and he was just perfect for the project. And we met in person, and we decided to do the project. And he flew to Austin, and we were having dinner together. And he said, his name's Judson Morgan. And Judson said at dinner, he's like, hey, I have a secret that I've been keeping from you. I know we've had a couple conversations, but I have a secret I need to share with you. All right, weird. He said, when I got the call from the person that put us in touch, they asked me if I would be interested in this project. And they told me that there was this Austin-based internet entrepreneur who wanted to make a documentary about him struggling with his faith. And he said, I laughed at myself and I jokingly said, is it Ryan Moran? And the guy said, oh, you know about this project? And I said, no, I don't know the guy. I just heard him on Pat Flynn's podcast, and I started a physical products brand that is now $1 million business.
Oh, what?
So this man hears me on your podcast, starts a business that gets to $1 million, and we did a documentary together. And we didn't know each other, and I didn't know that part of the story.
That's crazy.
About a year and a half ago, Judson sold that business for $20 million. And so he heard me on your podcast and had never heard about the idea of starting a physical products brand. or what e-commerce was. And he listened to the show and he built a business that made him very, very wealthy. It completely changed his life. And we made a documentary together that got seen by like 9 people. And so being on your show changed his life and mine in ways that we couldn't have predicted.
That is amazing.
If it's okay with you, I did this when I was first on your show and I was amazed at the response. I put up a page with just case studies that I thought would be relevant for your audience, like Judson's, and I'll put the Tim's on there. And I was amazed at the amount of feedback that I got from your show. So if it's okay with you, I'll put the list of case studies that I think will be relevant for them over at capitalism.com/Pat. And there won't be anything for sale on there. It'll just have the case studies of people that I think would be relevant, people who built audiences, people who were affiliate marketers, people who had podcasts and then launched a brand and had some success with it. And hopefully that inspires you to at least think bigger about how valuable what you've already created is. And if building a brand to amplify that makes sense for you, then I hope this inspires you to do that.
Capitalism.com/Pat. Head over there now. Ryan, thank you so much. This was an absolute pleasure. I appreciate you, man.
Great to see you, Pat. Thank you.
Wow. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Ryan. Again, if you want to check him out and check out the case studies for businesses like we just talked about today, capitalism.com/Pat. Now, all the links and resources will be on our show notes page at smartpassiveincome.com/session749. But what a way to start the year. And it's interesting because we very rarely talk about e-commerce and physical products, although we will likely be talking about it more, especially as we start to insert more EIRs into our program, experts and residents who focus on that thing that the SPI Pro members can get access to. But even just access to this episode today should spark something for you. And it's interesting because, like I was saying, we don't talk about this very often, but when we do, we always have such incredible success stories from businesses that have started after listening to these episodes. And I imagine this one will be something that'll fit into that camp as well. There was a couple who came on in episode 99 to talk about arbitrage and Amazon FBA. And Ryan's come on, and we just heard a success story coming on from that. And then now this episode today, I mean, it's going to inspire even more people to start. And relatively speaking, hopefully you can see this isn't as hard as it might seem. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. I hope your start of the year is going well. And we have a lot more year to go, obviously. So make sure you hit subscribe because we have a lot of great content coming your way. Another episode coming this Friday and just a lot more to offer to you. So don't miss out. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Ryan, if you're listening to the show, thank you so much for dropping the value bombs today for everybody. And I wish you all well. Till the next one. Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Smart Passive Income podcast at smartpassiveincome.com. I'm your host, Pat Flynn. Sound editing by Duncan Brown. Our senior producer is David Grabowski, and our executive producer is Matt Gartland. The Smart Passive Income podcast is a production of SPI Media and a proud member of the Entrepreneur Podcast Network. Catch you next week. Have you dreamt about being your own boss, but still haven't made the first steps to making that dream a reality? Well, I get that. Starting a business can feel super overwhelming with legal forms, paperwork, finances. It's a lot. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about Taylor Brands. Taylor is a complete business builder designed to make launching your business simple and stress-free. You can register your LLC in just minutes, keeping your personal assets and the business assets separate from day one. From there, you get access to everything you need to get off the ground. Legal documents, licenses and permits, invoicing and bookkeeping tools, and even a 100-day business coaching program, all designed to help you hit the ground running. You'll also get a free, personalized business plan, branding tools, and so much more. And of course, listeners of this show get an exclusive 35% discount to get started. All you have to do is head to taylorbrands.com/SPI. That's TAILORBRANDS.com/SPI. Stop dreaming, start building with Taylor Brands. Look, I get it. You want to grow your business, but trying to sell to hundreds or even thousands of people gets very exhausting very fast. But what if you could sell at scale with a simple, powerful quiz? ScoreApp helps you sell to more people without adding more to your plate. You build a quiz or assessment that your audience actually wants to take. Then they answer a few quick questions and get a personalized result right away. It shows them where they're at and what they need to do next and how you can help. And you build huge amounts of trust before you make even a single offer. No hard sell, no chasing leads, just value at scale. Get 50% off the first 3 months using the discount code SPI, All you have to do is just head to scoreapp.com/SPI. Again, that's scoreapp.com/SPI.